Hello, welcome back to this long-standing conversation that we're having together. Thank you, as always, for joining me. I'm Reverend Tomas Garza. This is A Course in Miracles 365 plus, right? Awakening to Love. So where we are right now is in the Manual for Teachers, specifically question 5. And as you'll know, the manual is a spiritual themed FAQ section, which is really pretty cool because it provides some answers straight from Jesus himself to questions that someone might ask and frequently does ask on the path. Very cool. And question 5 is how is healing accomplished? And we looked in yesterday's video, the last one here in the sequence on YouTube, at the very important and sometimes difficult to grasp, honestly, notion that healing is 100% of the mind. It is of the mind. And I invite you to go back and watch that and to pay attention to your own thoughts, your own feelings, and your own reactions. The Course presents ideas that are exactly the opposite of what we have been indoctrinated and inculcated to believe. I mean, people have, from society to our teachers to our parents, conditioned us to believe that things are a certain way, and they could not possibly be otherwise. What happens within this? We suffer. This is what has attracted each and every one of you to spirituality, is this voice that knows that there is a better way, that there has to be a better way. And I don't want to feel this way. The voice is saying, I don't want to feel this way. There's got to be a better way. There is. There is. It's known as spirituality. It's known as the universal course, of which A Course in Miracles is just one form. It is simply one external manifestation. There are countless others. That accounts for the variety of spiritual traditions, of religions that exist in the world. There is a fundamental core or essence or truth to all of them, and that's what we're approaching. There are many doors. Again, this is but one. Healing is of the mind. Okay, so let's take that as a premise and engage in a second conversation on how is healing accomplished. Let's take a look at the function of the teacher of God. So let's say that I'm working with you. For example, what's my role? Well, for starters, it's not me that's doing anything. It's not my voice that you hear. It's not Tomas Garza that you see on the screen. It's not my hands that heal. I mean, how does one heal the mind with hands? Right? It's not that you see and hear that actually brings healing at all. So my role is most definitely not to force anything. It's a very interesting situation that we all find ourselves in, and that a teacher finds himself or herself in, isn't it? Because this person, the teacher, may have done a tremendous amount of work and a tremendous amount of growth, and may have begun a process of partially or even completely seeing through the illusion of separation and leaving the ego aside, letting go of fear, which, by the way, release from fear is the goal of this course. It's the goal of this course, release from fear. So the person that you're listening to or conversing with, whatever form that takes, this person does not heal you. You have quite a bit to say about this. The situation that Jesus discusses here in the manual is one that we find all the time. So it's highly practical. What happens when there is a teacher and a student? Let's use teacher and student. I prefer not to think of the word patient, which reminds me of the 3.5 years I once did at a very dark point in my life of talk therapy. I mean, if you use that language, great, no problem. I'm choosing teacher and student for the purposes of our conversation here today. I find it's a lot more helpful because, as we see, sickness is all of the mind. Therefore, it's choice. So what happens when there is a teacher and a student who believes wholeheartedly in the illusion? The body tells this person what to do, and he or she obeys, not the other way around. It's very important what's going on in the world. We let this thing run the show, tell us what to feel. No. But it's, in fact, the other way around. But what appears to be the case is that this thing runs amok, does its own thing, gets injured, gets sick, feels badly, may develop a chronic disease. Yeah. It's subject to the ebbs and flows of life. Yet remember that healing is of the mind. Here in the world, people don't believe that, do they? They don't believe that, so sickness is real to them. This compound communication device, mechanism, tool, thing that's 80% water is real to them. Hardcore, concrete reality. This is, of course, what we're taught to believe, isn't it? So, no small wonder that we feel conflicted. If you feel deeply conflicted about this, that's perfectly normal. We have been conditioned to think that only what this thing's senses can apprehend, can understand, we've been conditioned to think that only that is reality. Yet we know that that's not the case. It's not the whole picture. So what is the function of the teacher of God? Well, it's not to change your mind for you. That can't happen. But the teacher does not use force. What the teacher does is merely show up and stand for the alternative to sickness. Stand for healing, stand for forgiveness, stand for love. Sometimes all I do when I work with people is simply turn on Zoom or messenger or the telephone, and allow them to process. Into this container, I allow the Holy Spirit to speak through me. It is the Holy Spirit in all of us that is speaking. This is the voice deep down telling you there's got to be a better way. But this voice will never force us. This voice will never rob us of our present moment power to choose. So, what does one need, believing sickness is, in fact, reality? This person needs someone to show up and point the way, to stand for something different, healing itself. This, of course, can take many forms. My job as the teacher is never to force, it's your decision. Now, when I am called to explain the metaphysics of A Course in Miracles, as I often am, and of course, right, because it presents a thought system that's 180 degrees different, and you might say opposed, that there is no ultimate opponent to what we're conditioned to believe in the world. It's a complete thought reversal. It's a complete thought reversal. So it requires some explanation of this complete thought reversal. Yet, let me remind you that it's in the application of these principles that you set the ego aside. That's where the action is in the present moment application of these ideas. So it may be that what you need today is someone to bring a loving container for you to process in. That may be what you need. You may, in fact, require today a deeply metaphysical explanation of the thought system of this course. That may be what you require today. That's available. It's available on many different YouTube channels. This is just one of them. Again, the content is universal. The outward form is what differs. What my role as a teacher is, and this is consistent with what Jesus is saying, it's to invite you to turn away from fear. As I share the Holy Spirit with you, I invite you to turn away from fear. Remember, the goal of this course is release from fear. It's not to understand the meaning of what love is. Love, God, simply is. What we're doing is accepting this. We, a piece at a time, if that's what we need, release the ego. We release fear. As a teacher, I'm here to show up and invite you to do just that. How do I do it? It depends on the circumstance, depends on the person. What a teacher of spirituality does is share love. Now, of course, what's going on is giving and receiving are one. This is how, of course, the teacher learns and how we get the very helpful and very true adage in the world that no one ever learns as much as the teacher. Giving and receiving are one in truth. This is one of the central principles of the course. My job as a teacher is simply to show up and extend love, to share the Holy Spirit with you. It's an invitation. It's an invitation for you to change your mind. I can't change it for you. The Holy Spirit cannot change it for you. God does not change it for you. You change it. It's within your power. And it would be very inappropriate and very wrong for any of us to deny you that, to rob you of that. Not gonna happen. It is your choice. Healing is release from fear. If this needs to be a very gradual process, so be it. Again, the invitation in world spirituality is to start where you are, just like Pema Chodron's book. By the way, Pema Chodron, if you're not familiar with her, is a Buddhist nun. And Start Where You Are is a book that she wrote many years ago that's considered a spiritual classic. And it's the phrase that I want to call your attention to. Start with where you are right now. You can't start tomorrow. Tomorrow's not here. And nor can you start yesterday because it's gone. This makes sense on an intellectual level. It makes sense on a logical level. This does make sense to the logical mind, doesn't it? What we've got is a lot of clutter in the way. Isn't that right? Mentally, the course in the introduction to the text says that it aims to remove the obstacles, remove the barriers to our awareness of love's presence. Love always is. We are not aware of what is. We're not aware, therefore, of who we are because we have constructed a wall, so to speak. We have put up one barrier after another. Spiritual practice is the removal of those. It's the release from fear. That is healing, the release from fear. It is of the mind. And the teacher's role is simply to be present with you. Now, this may, depending on the message, right, depending on the day and the moment, this may come across as rather abrupt. I'm aware that some of the things that I'm directed to say right here in this video series may come across as tremendously abrupt or blunt. So be it. Sometimes we need that, don't we? We need these things from time to time as adult learners. And my job is simply, as we're talking about, to show up. I don't know who may be watching a video series when I'm working one-on-one with somebody. That is a different form of situation, isn't it? Because we're able to real-time communicate about it. In this setting, my job is to simply extend love. I don't know who may be watching. I may know you personally, and I may not. Again, I don't know who may be watching or listening at any given time, but I would not leave you struggling and flailing without giving you some love, without showing up as a reminder that indeed there is a different way. Mine is to show up and stand for this other choice, the choice for love as the alternative. And I'll close with the message that this is your choice. How then is healing accomplished? It's you changing your mind. So we do this all the time on the level of form. If we're going clothes shopping and we have a choice between two pairs of jeans and we know we're only going to buy one, well, we might choose one, then start walking to the cash register, then head back to the rack, change our mind, get the other one. We do this all the time on the level of form. What we're talking about here is a complete change of mind about the thought system. It's a change of mind about who you are. It's deep, it's profound, and well, this is why it appears to take time. For that reason, it's deep and profound, and we have, each of us, constructed a multiplicity of barriers and fog banks and walls that we need to set aside. And if that means we piecemeal, brick by brick, disassemble them, that is what it means. Start where you are. That's a really good message. Let's end with that and start where you are. Implicit in that, of course, is give yourself some grace. And as you're forgiving the world, the ego, all phenomena, everything that enters your experience, which is a gift and opportunity for forgiveness, the raw material for awakening. As you do that, do not, please, forget yourself in this equation. Forgive yourself. You have permission. You have the Holy Spirit's permission to forgive yourself. You have my permission. You don't need my permission. Who am I? I'm an image on your screen. Give yourself permission to forgive yourself and go forth and do just that, please. Thank you. And have a great day.